it's hard work to get to the top, and that's going to be the culture. Welcome to the Menlo Experience. I'm your host here, Brad Sant with Kyle Bach, and this may be the best day of the year.
Yeah, best day of the year.
I mean, it's the first game day for the Chiefs.
It's game day.
It's game day.
And it's a fun game day. Out of the country.
Yeah. Brazil.
People all over the world now, because of Travis, know where Brazil is.
That's right.
I think it definitely went from 50-50 across the board to it might be 75% now just because of that. Don't you think?
Did Travis know where Brazil was?
I'm just mean because he didn't know it. Okay. Yeah, now everybody else knows it, you know?
Yeah. How do you feel about the season? Let's get this out of the way.
Look.
Predictions.
I think we're going to the Super Bowl and we're winning it this year.
That is bold.
Yep. Is it that bold, though, as a Chiefs fan? I mean, it's bold, but is it really that bold?
I mean, it's kind of bold.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like that's a lot of Super Bowls, back to back to back. And
yeah.
So
yeah, it is.
It could be.
I mean, I think it's going to be an intense year.
I'm feeling like 13-4 this year. I don't know why.
13-4. Okay.
Yeah. What do you?
That sounds pretty reasonable.
So
winning the Super Bowl?
Well, no.
Oh, not winning the Super Bowl.
No, not winning the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I don't.
Where are we going? How far are we going?
I mean, probably AFC Championship again, I would think.
Okay. Winning or going there?
Probably going to lose to the Bills.
Losing to the Bills in the AFC Championship. I mean, it's Josh Allen's time.
It's got to be at some point.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, that's a good one too.
All right. So have you seen The Kingdom?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Great series.
Yeah.
That was fun. I thought it was really cool to see just the human element behind some of the team. When they took the team into the cave, one of my favorite spots was when they're showing all the historic memorabilia of the Chiefs and how they've saved it. And if you're not from Kansas City and you're listening to this, these are like the caves that are dug underground and you can drive your vehicles into it. And there's a lot of companies that store in there because there's no humidity and things like that. And so they have a lot of archives that are in there. And so, but the Chiefs archive that's in the caves and they're walking through that, I thought it was so cool because you could tell Pat hasn't been in there before, right? And so he's like, can we touch this stuff? Yeah. And, I love that Pat, he's asking the question, can I touch this, right? Like just like a kid as opposed to, the superstar that can, most of us, I think, just assume can do whatever he wants, right?
Right.
And so, but my favorite episode, I think, was Andy Reid, just watching him and talk about just how much he cares about his players and values all the people on the team. Love the part where he stayed in touch with Hunt and with Kareem and just, I think the way that he just values people is just really special. So, yeah, what did you think of it? What was your favorite episode?
Yeah, I don't know if I had a favorite episode, but I think, to the point about leadership, I think is significant. But maybe I'll tie that. I think a lot of people watched it. Certainly I did as a Chiefs fan or history of the Chiefs. But I think maybe the bigger takeaway or what I thought was really interesting about it is you've got, essentially Lamar Hunt with a vision.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this vision for what ultimately became a worldwide franchise, right?
Yeah.
But started in Kansas City. Moved to Kansas City, from Dallas because of the situation. But he had a vision, right?
Yeah.
And what I thought was really interesting about it is a little bit about the journey. But it took 50 years essentially to get back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting was there was a lot of really strong players. And there's an episode where they go through the history of these strong players that were on the Chiefs. Tony Gonzalez, Derek Smith, all of these, all these old
Joe Montana, Marcus Allen.
Way back, right? Yeah. And so you had all these players, but just it wasn't a situation where everything just came together. And it's a little bit, I think, like a business. As you're trying to grow the business, is you've got a vision where you want to get to, and you've got some really strong players that keep you in it a long time, And certainly they had their lows. They had 2-14 in a season, back in 2012. But eventually they just kept trying. They kept trying to put the right players in, get the right formula. And then once they've hit that, look at what they've been the last 6 years, 7 years. And that certainly was some key hires, some key personnel that brought it together. But how different would that have been if you had that vision and you didn't just keep trying, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Lamar didn't get to see it come to fruition, but it all started with his idea and keeping at it. So to me, from a business standpoint, I think there's a lot of parallels, in sports and business. But in this case, it just stood out to me how many attempts
Yeah.
it took to try and get the right formula to make it to that championship.
Yeah, and the fact that he's the one handing out the trophy, right, every year, that's named after him, right? And for all those years that he's the one that's giving it away. I also think just the story of how it moved to Kansas City was really fascinating too.
Mhm.
That it was basically someone else in business trying to
Right.
shut down his business,
Right.
right? And so they moved to Kansas City, and and we wouldn't have them if that wasn't the case. But to your point, it's that grit or resilience. He wasn't giving up, and then ultimately merged it together, right? And so yeah, I mean, I think yeah, when you think about just all of those principles or just the different ways that businesses are impacted, with that same tendency, would have been some of those moments. I mean, if you were making a franchise,
Yeah.
docu series on K-12 ITC or Menlo, what would some of those chapters sections be for you?
I was thinking about this. So I fly a lot in the air, right? And I'm
Yeah.
watching the series on the plane, and I was daydreaming back to some of building our software, some of
Yeah.
getting the model in place, and just thinking, oh, I'm glad there was not a camera crew there, because there was some really, I mean, there were some dark moments, trying to figure out how to make that happen. And then you get a glimpse of some momentum and hope, and then you get, setback and 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and
Yeah.
so certainly I think there's been a lot of that
Tell
in
me about a
business. So,
setback moment in the software development, because I think a lot of people don't necessarily have experience in software development.
well, I mean, I think it's the most frustrating part is you've got an idea, right? And you're just trying to get the software to do what you want, or trying to make it work. And, um, a lot of times you're battling something nobody's ever created, right? Like
Yeah.
that's why you're
Yeah.
doing it, is because it hasn't been
Yeah.
built that way, or it hasn't been set up. And so you've got this idea. And I think that there's just this challenge a lot of times of trying to see that come to fruition,
Mhm.
and you just late nights pulling your hair out, trying over and over and over. And
Yeah.
the funny part is a lot of times you can walk away for 5 minutes and then you get this epiphany, right? And
Yeah.
and now you know how to fix it. But so I'd say there are ups and downs. I think what we did a good job about, and it's a term a lot of times in software development, but MVP,
Mhm.
or minimal viable product.
Mhm.
And so we got it out the door. And I remember our first version was ugly. Like, I mean, it was terrible. I mean,
But
it
they
was
say if you're not embarrassed by your MVP, then
it
you
was
launch too
terrible.
late. That's
Well,
what they say.
that may be. We were
Uh,
definitely not late then,
well,
because it
there you
was
go.
not good.
That's right.
But I mean, I think we got out the door and we started perfecting it, and then figured out what didn't work, and it's an iterative process. So
Yeah.
so I think the software development, it just builds and grows over time. I think the challenge in business a lot of times is more centered around the human element, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's more unknowns. The software, you can design it to do something, and most of the time it's gonna work pretty predictably.
Yeah.
Um, Humans aren't that way, right?
Yeah.
People aren't that way. So, trying to navigate, trying to build the perfect team, and the perfect team, I think a lot of people confuse with getting the same person, somebody like everybody else on,
Right.
that's not a good team. You got to have balance and people
Yeah.
that are strong at one thing or another, and some natural leaders mixed
Yeah.
in the group and stuff. That's a tough balance to find. I mean, what's your experience
Well, I
been
think
trying
you
to build
see, I
teams?
mean, you see that even in that episode, right? Or in some of those episodes for the Kingdom. I mean, you see that it's not one superstar, right? I mean, and even the current run that we're, still living out right now, it doesn't exist without trading Tyreek away, right? And all of the picks that came from that and everything. And man, just how much backlash they got for that. But the Chiefs weren't built on, one superstar. And they were, they saw the value of needing to really revamp the defense and things like that over the next few years. And as a result of trading him away, we were able to do that. And, and it's unfortunate for him, obviously, because, it's been a little rough ride down in Miami.
Mm.
But I think to your point, it highlights the importance of the collective group as opposed to just one individual or a couple key individuals, right? It's really kind of the concept of weak link versus strong link theory, right? So the weak link theory is, you're only as good as your weakest link on a team, and sports are oftentimes categorized into one or the other. But, strong link theory is you're only as good as your MVP on the team. And I think a lot of times in business, it really, it's the entire group that you have to look at, not just one superstar. You can have a flash in a pan business with one superstar, And oftentimes I think a lot of startups and things like that, that's really often what it
Mhm.
is. It's one or two superstars. And and maybe they're getting acquired or something like that if that's the goal of that business. But to really grow and scale a business, you need a whole team of people that are able to work together, that are humble, that want to really see the vision and purpose of what you're building and are a part of it and sacrificial towards it. So I think, even as we're talking as a team, I was sitting down with one of our new employees the other day and just talking through some of our values and talking about why there are values. And we were just talking about being honest, like where are we missing it on some of these values, right? And what are some areas we need to improve it, in these values. And if we don't focus on improving that as a collective community, we're going to always limit what we could be. And so I think building that culture and having those conversations, we were just talking this afternoon about how do we build more of a cadence into communicating those values and even communicating some of our marketing and things like that. And
I thought I didn't think that's what you were going to say. We were talking about a minute ago.
what?
How I can't see anymore.
Oh, I mean, well, I wasn't sure if you wanted to out yourself on
I
this.
told you
or
I had to
not.
pull a flashlight
Well-
out to read the
well,
menu at
you-
dinner the other
you
night.
did say
so
that. You did say that.
it's a new. I feel like I've crossed over. It's a new.
Getting old ain't
It's-
for wimps,
yeah,
right?
it's
Like
rough.
that's what they say.
Rough.
So, yeah, I'm not that you're old. You've heard of other people talking about it, right?
But I'm a wimp. Is
I don't
that-
know.
Well,
I don't know. Well,
okay,
we can
anyway.
talk about the gym later.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Do a
yeah,
push-up competition or something.
I digress. So,
Okay,
anyway.
yeah. But yeah, pulling out the flashlights for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how important when you think about culture and you think about the different phases that we've gone through as a business, how have you seen the ebb and flow of that impact the growth of the business?
I think that you were talking about a superstar, right? And a superstar on a team is going to be a problem if you don't have everybody else ready to run at that same pace, right?
Mhm.
Or similar pace or what have you. And I think that's been a little bit of the cycles of the business too. Is every time we grow or get bigger or advance, maybe is a better way to say it. We've got to have everybody keeping up, and so sometimes that's not completely in harmony. And I think that creates a challenge of trying to get there.
Yeah.
The other thing I would just reflect on is the work ethic that Andy Reid has instilled in the team,
Yes.
and I think about that a lot. That's credit to my dad. He taught me how to work hard without saying anything. It was just an example, but I think it's really interesting because the NFL is another level, right? If you play in the NFL, that's a thing. If you go play under Andy Reid, that's a whole new level of workout. And I forget what they called their full field drives at the end of it. You may remember the name or whatever. But
I don't remember.
but when they're exhausted and it's heat out, they go do 30 reps or whatever, and most teams are doing 8 or 10, and just the push on it so that you're ready when it's time to perform. That's something that I think I want to continue to make sure we're driving here, that it's hard work to get to the top, and that's going to be the culture. And that's a hard one to develop and maintain, but it got to have all the right players and people that understand when you come in the door, that's what we're about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, he was talking about how he during the season and, when they're in the office, he's putting in 19-hour days, and I think as the team, when the team sees that, the players that want to win Super Bowls are inspired by that, and then chase that. And, and it affects the way that they show up. I think you see the same thing on the Dream Team documentary that they talked about with Kobe, right? And, and Kobe shows up for the Dream Team, practice, and they're usually, normal practice in the morning in the summertime at 8:00. And they're, coming in from a late night, and he was already finishing up at the gym, first workout in the morning before everybody else's workout as a team. And I think that, when you see that from the coach, from Andy, from the superstars on the team, it changes the way that you show up as well. When you have that same mentality of wanting to win, and we talk about wanting to dominate, as one of our values, and dominating doesn't happen from, in a career, dominating doesn't happen from 8 to 5.
Nope.
Like it's just, that doesn't get you anywhere. It'll keep you where you are, but 8 to 5 just doesn't do it. And it's not saying that, we don't want people to value their families or anything, right?
Sure.
Like, but you don't get anywhere by just doing what everybody else does, right? And I think that that's part of being uncommon is really looking at your time and your efficiency. I think of one of our employees that we just hired that's modeling this really well right now. But that I haven't had a single moment where I've walked out, around our office where this person hasn't been diligently focused on, improving their skills, focused on a customer, focused on a situation, and, has already been, setting the bar high, for the team that they joined. I think that's, if you come in and do that right away and you're showing that type of commitment, that type of effort, that type of, get after itness, right? Like I'm making up new words now as well. Get after itness. That's going to be, that's my new word.
It'll be adopted this year.
Yeah. It's definitely going.
Did you see skibbity got added to the dictionary?
Oh, Webster?
Yep.
No way.
Skibbity
riz. My kids will love that.
It's official
skibbity
now.
is officially
Yep.
there.
You can find it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is the Rizzler there? I feel like we need to know.
I don't know if
all
Rizzler's
these
there
things.
yet. I don't know.
Are we crashing out? That's we can keep going on this.
We
if
crash
want.
out in my house a lot.
Do you crash?
Not me personally, but
Okay,
my children crash out quite a bit.
Yeah, we crash out.
Yeah.
We were crashing out last night.
Yeah.
So
hey, I might not be able to see, but at least I know how to decode the language these
that's
days.
Right. That's right. Until the next one.
Have you ever heard of the Burr months?
Oh my goodness.
This kind of came to me earlier today.
Thank you, Jessica.
Jess taught me what Burr months are.
Yeah, the cold ones, right? That's what it is.
That's not the cold ones.
It's not the cold ones.
September.
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah, September.
I also thought they were cold, but
August Burr.
I said, is that a kid thing?
We count that?
Like, did I miss that?
Yeah, I think we missed it.
Yeah,
I think it's an Instagram thing, and we just missed Instagram.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe it's something else.
The language these kids are using is.
Hey, speaking of Jessica, she did have something we were supposed to vote on in this.
Oh yeah.
Are we voting on this, Jess?
Okay.
Okay, we have to vote on something. This is from our marketing department.
Okay.
And they said we have to officially.
That one.
We have to say which hat we like better.
The left.
Okay, I'm gonna.
I think that's because I have a big forehead, though.
I think they're the exact same hat, Brad. That one just has the line on it. Are they different hats? It's a rope. Okay. I'm just saying that's true. It's not a line, it's a rope. I'll clarify that.
Okay, that's fine.
I think I like the one on the right better. I like the non-rope, but yeah, I'm a non-rope guy. It's okay. We can agree to disagree.
50-50.
That's true.
Jess, we need a tiebreaker.
That's right. Jess.
Well, it was basically based on your age, which one that you would like better.
Oh, wait a minute.
We are in the same age bracket.
No, well, hold on a minute. This could get really good here. Hold on. Tell us, Jessica, based on the age, who chose what?
Based on the age, if you're older, you like the non-rope hat.
Dang it.
If you like the
Oh, I'm hip.
You're hip.
I'm young and hip.
That tracks.
Okay.
That
Well, we
tracks.
can just end this podcast now
And
because that's
here
all
we
that
are.
people need
Brad
to know.
is young and hip and cool
See?
and does not need readers. That's definitely.
I still have it. All right. So anyway.
Thanks for that, Jess.
Yeah, that was a good dialogue. I don't even know what these are for. But anyway, so what's your final takeaway from the kingdom and from the legacy of the Chiefs, how they built it up, even coming from the Dallas Texans, all that sort of stuff to where they are now. What's your takeaway from a football side and what's your takeaway relating that to business?
I think it's easy. I'd say my takeaway from the football side is, man, it's a special time to be a Chiefs fan. That's my takeaway from my kids. My oldest son or my youngest son is 10 years old. And, and he has seen more years where the Chiefs go to a Super Bowl than he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And really, because of all the timing of all of it, it's just an expectation for him that they're going to the Super Bowl because it's the last 5 years. And that's insane. And we remember, right, all those years where
I had season tickets the 2 and 14 year.
Yeah.
I could not give them to people.
Yeah, we remember that. So like it's a really fun ride, but we also remember how fleeting this is and I think that's maybe, what I think of also when I think of business, just how unique it is when you find yourself in an opportunity like this. And when you have that right in front of you and you see the opportunity and you see the potential, it almost forces you to double down even more into that opportunity. Because for the Chiefs, the whole organization, I think, has an appreciation for how rare this is. as opposed to something that we're entitled to, or now I think fans are becoming more entitled to it, as I choose thus winning the Super Bowl, right? Fans are becoming more entitled to it, but I think the organization that I saw in the video really has a certain level of humility and just appreciation for the 50 years it took for us to be a 5-year dynasty, right? Like, and that's kind of, I think that we forget a lot of times that the 5-year dynasty, was a 50-year project, and I think that's where we ultimately are. My takeaway from the season of it looks like they just figured it out recently, but it's taken them this entire time, and they've built on things over and over and iterated over and over again. And, props to the Hunt family for sticking with it and for really fulfilling the vision of what Lamar had. And I think that's something that's really special that we're living in the middle of right now, that, even as they get ready to play in Brazil. So that's really special. On a business side, I think it's the same thing, how unique of an opportunity that we find ourselves in. And sometimes I think you're right on the cusp of that dynasty, and yet you're in the midst of the 50 years still, right? And you're still in the slog, and handing out the trophy to somebody else, right? And I think that in business, it looks a lot easier sometimes than it truly ever is. And I think that seeing underneath the covers for the kingdom, and seeing just the work ethic and the team and all the leadership across the group. And I think when we've had the opportunity to be able to listen to some of those players and things like that share, at some different events here in Kansas City and stuff, I think that these are some unbelievable people that are leading in this organization as players as well, right? And leading out. And so I think that's something really special that we get to see here in Kansas City with the team. But I think also just as a business, this is where we want to be. We want to be the dynasty, right? Like, we want to be the organization that's growing like that and that's dominating as well when it comes to what we do all the time as well. And I think that it's inspired me to just want to double down as well.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I draw a lot of parallels from kind of the story in the kingdom and then just business. But
yeah,
it's pretty easy in summary how hard it is to get to the top and how incredibly hard it is to stay there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same about business. I would echo all of the work that goes on behind the scenes, especially as an entrepreneur. People don't see any of that. They see the results at the end of the day. They see a win or loss. The fans, a lot of times, all they see is a win or loss on the weekend. They don't see all that it took, all the years it took, all the setbacks and hassle. But after you get there, you're not done.
Yeah.
And I think there was, I think it was the last episode after they kind of went through the losing Super Bowl, but they were interviewing Brett Veach, and he was talking about getting right back at it. And he just said, it's a grind.
Yeah.
And so they're at the top.
Yeah.
And it's a grind to stay there, and it just, you can never rest on your laurels. And I think that shows, and how incredible you get there. You got to celebrate the moments and just love where you're at. But that's not the end. It's you got to get right back at it the next day. And of course, take a little break here and there, but it's incredibly hard to get to the top, and you got to work even harder to stay there.
Yeah.
And particularly in this country, people don't love it once you're there. They get annoyed, and they want to see somebody different. So, at least from the sports world. So,
but you got to love the grind, right? Like that's,
that's you got to love it.
You got to learn to love it, and embrace it. And, I was, my daughter's recovering from a surgery, and it's tough, right? Doing all the physical therapy to recover from it. But I think that, it's learning to love going to the gym on a regular basis when you hate it, right? Yeah. And learning to kind of enjoy all of those parts that are really hard. And I think in business, it's the same way. You can either choose to be upset, mad, angry every time, that hard happens, or you can choose to embrace it and choose to love that grind. And I think that's, I think you model that well for our business. And I don't think that's always true. I've worked in lots of different companies where you don't have that modeled from the top down. It's more of a, you exist to serve me. And I think that, when leaders exist, and support their staff and model that from the top, I think it's really rare. So,
yeah, I think when you talk about it just being a grind and being tough, the way my mind works is it's me or somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let it be somebody else. So, all right. Good talk today. Let's go Chiefs. For now, this has been the Menlo Experience. We'll see you next time.
See ya.